hook's going on bad.
Oh, duck hook, it was boom, and go and draw. And then I said, okay, aim for the middle, try to draw.
Where'd you guys play at?
Clear Lakes.
Yeah. Was it just the girls?
Yeah.
Behind my desk.
So, it was pretty nice, really.
When the boys are in the Gate City invite today.
Yeah, I'm gonna sneak up there after this. I get somebody watching my third. Told Lauren, just give me a whole fucking cookie this. I said it's too long.
Well, if I'd have known this was going on, I'd have made sure we scheduled games this week. You know, we've got a break this week, but we've only got
Break this week and this.
and then we've got Century and Pokey next week, or Century and Blackfoot, but Blackfoot's on Saturday. And I may call them to see if they want to move that to one of those days. Got my first funeral for someone in my class finally.
Who's that?
Do you remember a kid named Shad Young? He's a soccer guy.
You'd be just like.
Hey guys. Hey guys.
Which one do you turn on?
Well, let's try this one.
Oh, this is what you were talking about, the technology.
Hey guys.
Can you hear us?
Look at that. There's a kid on it.
Tom Stanford is going to help out Patty's on the building.
Wow.
So.
As soon as I figure out how to power it on.
Oh,
The remote should be in the desk, which is traditionally quite hard.
Oh, there's that little power that's called on.
hey,
Okay.
will somebody just make sure I get the key back?
You have
I just take it and leave it open. Just leave it open and take the key. If we leave, the door's shut, we're done.
Because I got to it and come in this afternoon anyway, so.
Alright, turn the switch. Can you get that on the TV? And you guys need to call out to a school, or are they calling into you? Oh, it looks like it's already going. Okay.
We just need the mute switch.
Yeah.
That's you.
That was
The
you
volume's
last
not
week.
on yet? Oh,
You?
I
Well,
see
they've
it.
been talking. We heard someone speaking, but in terms of
When we're talking in here,
which
unless
one?
they're talking directly to us, we mute it.
There we go.
Like the school
No,
board.
maybe it's muted through here, I guess.
Just mute it.
Yeah, that's the microphone.
I can lift that TV off.
I'll get Kathy on that, okay? I'll have her bring the coffee pot down to you.
Lift that up. Just don't hold the door open for me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just fun. I don't think it's muted, both of the volumes went up. But it kind of looks like they're talking. That's fun.
I heard some voices when I first was standing sitting in here.
Okay. I'll grab those
Hey,
keys from
thanks,
you.
Vicki.
Come on, don't thank me.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to unmute it. I'm not. Turn on all the volumes I can find.
You get any buttons at the top?
Just the power.
Yeah, mute's off on the TV, and the volume was cranked up through that. And the microphone's on, so they should be hearing
Is
us.
that the speakers? Is that something?
How do we mute the microphone, TJ, if we need to?
On here, there's a little microphone with a red slash through it.
That's the one we care about.
That kills the mic.
Because it's
This
pretty,
one
it's
kills
pretty,
the mic.
it's pretty simple. Do I need which direction?
It,
Yeah, we already turned it
Okay.
off.
Huh?
It's already on.
I want to let you know so that somebody asks.
Okay.
So
Hey, Mike, is Mike there?
Did you hit presentation again?
And Rhonda, then you can start this. I'll just introduce.
Hey, is Mike there?
Now, how do we see all of our sites, Julie? Okay, just
We
go
can't
ahead.
hit our presentation on. Start dancing.
There we go.
There we
There
go.
we go. Okay. Good morning, everyone out there in Idaho and here in the Barbara Morgan. I'm Pat Stewart, and I am the Coordinated School Health Director for the School Health Program. And my colleague, Rhonda Hagan.
They're fine.
Hi. And we are bear with us. We are using technology, and we may not be as smooth yet as we should be, but we're working towards that. Every time we do it, I think it'll get better. So the first time we used the IEN network was in February, and many of you are joining us again for that. And for those of you that are new to using the IEN distance learning, we just want to go through some protocol with you. I want to welcome everyone, first of all, for taking time to leave your classes or your classes at Boise State to be with us today. And I'd like to maybe just see who's with us today. So Coeur d'Alene, Kevin Roach, are you there? And Kevin, how many individuals you have there with you?
$15 of us.
15, excellent. And the next site is Lewiston. And how many folks are there, Heather?
5.
Excellent. Bigger turnout this time. And how about at Declo?
You guys are on now? We have 5.
Very good. At Madison High School?
Hi, we have 3 today.
Very good. Okay. And I think McCall Donnelly will be joining us later, but if not, here with us in the Barbara Morgan, we have probably about 40 people, 30 people, and about half the group are either students with Dr. Bell's class from Boise State or Dr. Tyler's, or Dr. Johnson's class, Dr. Tyler Johnson's class. So welcome Boise State students, and also those of you from the area here in the Boise region. First of all, I want to just go through the protocol for using the IEN, and it looks like most of you are following that. Whenever you're not speaking, please mute your mics, and that way we don't get a lot of background noise. And at some point, we will be breaking you into small regional groups, maybe to have some discussion. I want to recognize the fact that today Tyler Johnson, Dr. Johnson, will be facilitating our discussion towards the end of our time together. Before we go any farther, we closed last time with a PE message that had been created by Rhonda Hagan, Corrine Morgan, and some of the folks from the Boise School District that were part of a PE conference last year. And I wanted to play that again for you to set the stage for where we're headed with physical education in Idaho. And you can use this message for your school boards. It's loaded on our website, on the physical education site, and so you can use it at any time.
Okay,
So,
you hit presentation, and
Okay.
I'll hit play.
all right.
No, because there's others. Well, try it. That's it.
education?
I'm good. So
You guys at Barbara Morgan,
we can go as
room?
long as you need.
Guys at Barbara Morgan room in Boise, this is McCall.
Okay.
Okay, Simon.
McCall, we can hear you. Why do they keep dropping?
So today what we plan to do, if you picked up an agenda as you came in here, for those of you that are here in the Barbara Morgan, we have an agenda, and for those of you out there, we'll post that shortly here for you. What our plan is today is to summarize the results of our last IEN, which was February 29th, and for those that participated in that, we did a Survey Monkey to find out what your feelings were around physical education in Idaho. And we had a wonderful representation. Just about everyone completed the survey. So we'll show you those results. Rhonda's going to review again the ranking of where Idaho is within the region and nationally in our physical education programs. And we're going to review briefly the YRBS data, which is on our website. We have handouts for you, and I believe that we sent those handouts to each of you that were part of the IEN last time. And for those of you that are new, we'll send that to you if you provided us an email address. And then we have with us today Deb Bradburn. We'll introduce her later, but Deb is with the CUNA School District and has done a significant amount of data collection related to their PEP grant that I think you're in your third and final year?
We're done.
You're done. So you had a PEP grant for 3 years, and she's going to talk to you about the data that's been collected that's made a significant impact in the school. So I'll leave it with that for now, Deb. We'll take a break as we see that we need it, and let us know out there if you have questions. I've got someone close to our TV this time, so if you raise your hand and we know that you have a question, we'll try to respond to you very quickly so that you're not sitting there waving at us and us not responding. Our studio here in the Barbara Morgan, I understand, is a bit different from what you have out there. You all have better systems in that you don't have so many network barriers or firewalls. So our response to you may seem a bit delayed in how we sound. But you come through loud and clear as you ask questions of us. But if we sound like we're on a cell phone in a remote area, that may be just part of the firewall system. So are there any questions out there in our regions? And McCall Donnelly, we know that you're there with us. So thank you for attending. So with that, I think, Rhonda, would you put up the PowerPoint to go to that? Presentation.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rhonda Hagan, and I'm trying to stand where I'm visible to you all. And what I would like to do is quickly review a couple of the slides that we showed you last time, and then give you some of the other data that we have around PE. And there were handouts, so we'll reference those two handouts. One is about the YRBS. It's a fact sheet on PE. And the other one is the BMI survey that we completed in 2008-2009. So you can go to the first slide. Okay, we're working on this. Okay, there's our agenda. Okay, this is what is required in Idaho for the physical education requirements. Idaho requires physical education in grades 1 through 8. Because we do not have required kindergarten, it is not included in this. In most public schools, PE is offered in kindergarten if that's a district decision. So when it doesn't say K through 8, that's why. Okay, physical education is required to be offered in high school, grades 9 through 12, as an elective. We do not require a physical education credit for graduation in Idaho. So it has to be offered as an elective. It's grouped in there with foreign languages, some of the other electives like humanities. So it's required to be offered as an elective. Each district may require this as a district requirement. So I know Boise District requires it, Meridian District requires PE for graduation. We have many districts that require 1 or 2 credits still for graduation. So it's different across the state. This is always an area that they're looking at when they look at budget constraints. They're always like, well, it's not required for graduation. Maybe we could take that out. So it is something that we need to be aware of, that we need to advocate for the value of how it affects our academic performance. So we will try to give you data and research to support that advocacy piece. Okay, there are no time requirements in Idaho for physical education. It's just required. So each district, even among a district, might have different requirements on time or no requirements. So they may call PE recess because they gave kids physical activity, not a structured physical education course taught by a certified teacher. And then the last one is that each district determines their requirements for PE, which I already covered. So you probably know what your district requires, and we don't know across the state what every district requires. It's kind of a moving target, but we do talk to them when they give us a phone call, encourage them to keep PE, tell them it is required to be offered, and hopefully we're going to have something that comes out of these discussions that you all, as a profession, can take forward for advocacy. Okay, that cannot come from the State Department of Education, but it can come from our professional organization and the people in the field. Okay? Okay, how do we compare to those states around us? You know, when we talk about advocacy, it's not really as important what's happening in Maryland compared to Idaho. So I took states in the surrounding area and I looked at comparisons with states that might be comparable to us in geographic area, maybe even in population, and looked at what their mandates are so that we could base it off of that as far as ideas. The one thing that I want to say is we are one of 4 states in the nation that does not require PE for high school graduation. That is Idaho, Alabama, Arizona, and Colorado. Okay, Utah, our neighbor state, mandates 225 minutes per week of PE in grades 7 and 8. So that's 45 minutes a day and a minimum of 225 minutes per week for 3 years of high school. So, and that is a NASPE, National Association for Sport and Physical Education. Best practice is 225 minutes at the secondary level. So that's usually grades 6 through 12. In some instances where they don't have middle school, that would be grades 7 through 12. So that is a NASPE best practice, a guidance for time requirement. Montana mandates 225 minutes per week of PE in grades 7 and 8 and at the high school level. It doesn't say how many credits Montana requires. I'm just taking this directly off of a survey called Shape of the Nation, 2010. Okay, Washington mandates an average of 100 minutes of PE per week, K through 6. The NASPE guidance for that is 150 minutes of PE per week. Our goal would be 30 minutes, 5 days a week. That would equal 150 minutes of PE a week. So that would be daily PE of 30 minutes a day at the elementary level, 5 days a week. And in Washington, grades 7 and 8, they have to have 100 minutes of PE and 2 credits in high school. Okay, so those are our neighbors in Washington. Okay, this kind of gives you an idea. If you went to Shape of the Nation report, it's a large report, but you can get a graph on all the different requirements around PE, around certified teachers, around standards for PE, time requirements, graduation, everything for the whole United States. And you can see how we fare against any state in the nation. And you can just check that out. There's a lot of great information. So if you want more information on this or how other states are doing, that is where this information came from. Okay? Do you want me to do this, the YRBS, and this first? Okay. Before we look at the results from the SurveyMonkey that we did after our first IEN PE forum, I would like to share with you a YRBS fact sheet. And I don't know if in the remote locations, you should have received this via email yesterday, one of these days. And I'm going to just highlight a few of those. If you're in the Barbara Morgan, we will give you a fact sheet. What we're looking at is what are Idaho's requirements for PE and what is our obesity rate. I want to tell you this comes off of the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. It is a self-reported high school survey given to students 9 through 12. It's a random survey across the state of Idaho. We have weighted data that says this is representative of Idaho students across the state. But remember when we use self-reported data, I don't know, do you always tell the truth on your driver's license about what you weigh? We're adults, but kids might not always give height, weight exactly as it is. So we have to remember that this is self-reported data at the high school level. So there is information about why this is important, and this language was taken out of some of the CDC's information on best practices and NASA's best practices. So feel free, it is documented, it is footnoted. If you use this information, the citations are on this sheet. The key points here are we are continuing to have a decrease in the amount of physical education students are receiving in high school, and we are well under the national goal of 37% of students receiving daily PE. How they came across the national goal was they have Healthy People 2020 goals. When they started with Healthy People 2010, they had some goals that were like obesity at 5%. And this time they came out, they looked at the statistics and they made like a 10% improvement, which meant like they decreased the amount of obesity by 10% instead of shooting for 5%. So right now, in the nation, there's about 34-33% of all students that are receiving daily high school PE. And their goal is to improve that by 10% across the nation. So that is what that statistic means, that they would like to see a 10% improvement nationally. Well, we're way under that with only 24% of our students in Idaho receiving daily PE. So I just wanted to show that in comparison to a national goal. So we would like to up that number. It's gone down. It was in 2007, we had 32% of Idaho students receiving daily PE. And the last two surveys, 2009 and 2011, we've seen that number decrease to 24%. Okay, physical education is required to be offered. We already went over that piece. And then I gave you the national recommendations. And I just realized that some of that got cut off. You proof and proof these things. And the secondary 225 number got cut off.
Rhonda, do you want to refer to the overweight and obesity
Yes.
self-report?
Yes. So that's my last point on here, and then there's some take action steps. Overweight by CDC, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, is defined if you are 85% on the BMI, the body mass index chart, which is a calculation of height in, is it meters, or centimeters, and weight in kilograms? Yes. Well, that's the research experts here. And so if you are 85% to 95% on the BMI, you're considered overweight. Okay, and if you are 95% and above, that is considered obese. So those are our statistics, and we're averaging about 13% of students are overweight, and about 9% of high school students are obese. We usually combine those two numbers and say about 22% on the self-report are either overweight or obese, because we need to be concerned about the overweight issue also. So that's why some of the statistics look a little different. On your BMI fact sheet, and I'm just going to point to what it looked like in all the odd grades across the state. And you can see we surveyed 9th and 11th graders for YRBS, but we did a survey of over 5,000 students for the BMI. This was done with Boise State, University of Idaho, Lewis and Clark State College, Idaho State University, and we actually went out and measured the kids in centimeters, weighed them in kilograms, and figured out this data. So this was done on the same protocol with every school, every student. Oh. I was just alerted that some people don't have a back page to this, to the BMI. So if you don't, I'm passing around some more. I don't know how that got in there. Sorry, Lisa. And so we see the spike in obesity, and on this chart you can see that we're going up to about 16% of students obese. in grades 5 through 7. And that's usually right before puberty. And so this is kind of hitting the upper elementary, middle school kids with looking at some of the strategies to improve in that critical time period. And then still our 9th and 11th graders, when we went out and did the same protocol in each school, their obesity rate was between 13 and 15%. So a little bit different than self-reported. So I just want to share with you that information. We have all of this online, so you can use this information. It is on our website under Data and Resources. So if you want to take this and use it for your advocacy, that's where you find it. And then I have one more plug before I turn it over to Pat, and that is we are collecting the school health profiles at this time. And that is taken every other year. It asks the principals about the policies that they have around health and PE, tobacco, HIV, sexual health. So it's all kinds of information we gather on policies and procedures from principals. We also have a health teacher, what they teach in health education, and what their policies are, how much health education students are getting. So if you are that selected health education teacher and you haven't filled it out, we have to have that data to get weighted data for Idaho, because really our funding stream and how we're measured by CDC is based on what are we doing in working with the schools in health education, physical education, around administration, policies, procedures, the school environment. And they're looking at this data to see what's actually happening in the schools and states they fund. This year we have the PE Teachers Survey that has been added by CDC. Actually, I'll give the credit to Idaho for going on the cutting edge and doing a PE Teacher Survey a couple years ago with the BMI survey, and they took a lot of that survey, CDC did, and made a national PE Teacher Survey. So if you're a PE teacher that hasn't turned that in, we have to have that data. And believe me, we don't want to call you all. So if you have that, or if you misplaced it, let us know and we'll get you another one, because we need to have that data. So if you know somebody that hasn't turned it in, threw it away, you know what? No questions asked. We'll give you another one. Okay, thank you. And now Pat will share with you the results of the Survey Monkey from what we came up with as a collective group on what directions we're really interested in taking to address this data and our need.
Before you click there, Rhonda, I just want to say something about this.
Oh, okay.
So with the school health profiles, the teachers that are selected to fill out that survey, it goes to the secondary schools, so mostly to high schools, and it goes, the whole packet goes to the principal. And so the principal pulls out his survey, and then it's his responsibility or her responsibility then to forward the survey for the PE teacher, whoever is designated as the lead PE teacher. And you can pull together a group of you to talk about it, so it doesn't have to be done by just one person. And then he also, or she, designates whoever the lead health teacher is. And right now in our percentages, the physical education lead PE teachers have the lowest percent of return. So in this time of advocacy, we really need to hear from you. So contact your colleagues in districts nearby and say, hey, did you send that profiles in? We use that data.
Did it go
And
to all high schools?
it went to just about every high school. And I think that the rate in Meridian is pretty good. Rhonda, or Elisa, do you know if there's any, we don't really necessarily need to call them out right now, but you can talk to Lisa. You want to raise your hand? Lisa's in charge of the profiles, Lori, so you can check with her if there's a or one of your high schools that's, I think all of Boise's in. Boise's here. You're all good. And Eagle, I know you're in. So, very good, Scott. Good job. I'll only call you out if you've done good. I just really want to speak highly of the state organization, the Idaho Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. We have our past president here, Jane Shimon, but the we couldn't have done the BMI survey of all the odd grades in this state if we hadn't had IFERD's initial funding of about a little over $15,000 to get that thing started. And then it was a partnership of time and additional funds for all of the university people to go out into schools and collect BMI data. Even Rhonda and I were out doing some heights and weights as well, and it's good for us to be out in the schools and helping get the data that we need. So we thank you all if you participated, and I just wanted to recognize IFERD. And I also want to take a moment to, if you hadn't heard, for those of you, especially in Region 2, how proud you must be, but Jessica Shawley was just recently, 2 weeks ago at the National AFERD Conference, received the National Middle School PE Teacher Award. So when IFERD calls on you and says, hey, we want to recommend you for a Teacher of the Year award to represent Idaho, know that potentially you're good enough to receive the national award. And though it's a lot of work and time and submitting additional information to go through the process, it's well worth it. And as I hear from Ken Bell, Jessica will probably be very busy out on the circuit as a national representative of Idaho. So if you see Jessica or if you get a chance to email her, it's quite an honor. So with that, I wanted to just quickly summarize then our survey results from our last IEN. And the reason that we're doing all of this is that it came to us that...
I'm just going to the one that has the numbers.
Just go to the power. Okay, Rhonda, that's fine. I'll just give you a little background. When we were thinking about doing more data collection, we found out that we don't really have any state mandate that requires any additional data collection other than what we currently do for CDC purposes, Centers for Disease Control. And so as we looked into, well, how could we go about collecting more data? What would we need to do? Well, there needed to be a state requirement, first of all, that at the high school level, for us to even collect data, there needed to be some sort of state mandate. Superintendent Luna has been very responsive to school districts when they say, hey, you're asking us to collect so much data, we don't have time to collect more, so if there's not a state or federal mandate for it, we don't collect it. And so Rhonda and I thought, well, now we need to go back to the drawing board and really talk to the professionals in the field to find out what data do we have, and would you want to see there be a state mandate? Because currently in the IC network, the student network, you can go in and you can collect data on students' math scores and all of their academic scores, but we don't have a measure for their physical fitness. And we just want to talk to you to see if that would be something that you would want to see happen. So we asked some questions with regard to the PowerPoint.
I do not have the numbered slide. I don't know why it's not saved.
Okay,
here.
that's fine,
So,
Rhonda. I can explain it.
Yep.
I'll explain it. And then we'll go into more detail when Tyler facilitates the discussion. We'll go back to that. So if you'd click on the first slide, Rhonda. Okay. So this slide represents your responses when we asked the question regarding, and I apologize if it's difficult to see. We asked the question about what would you like to see changed in our requirements or improved in our requirements in physical education. And even though this looks like, this was on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the top rank, so it's a little deceiving here. We tried to do a slide with just the percentages, and for whatever reason, it's not here. So that very top slide is the ranking, and most of you said that the first thing that we'd like to see happen is that we have qualified physical education teachers in Idaho, in grades 1 through 12, that we have teachers that are certified in physical education. And then the next thing that you all said was that you would like to see a certain level of requirements for minutes in elementary and secondary. And again, 150 minutes is best practice for elementary and 225 best practice for secondary. The next thing that you said in ranking was that, this was kind of a surprise to us, The red bar really is that many of you thought that we should have 2 credits or a full year requirement. Not that that's a surprise to us, but we thought the 1 credit might be higher, 1 semester requirement, but more of you said you'd like to see a full year required PE at the secondary level. So even though that purple bar is out there ahead, it's actually 2 credits or 2 semesters, full year. And then the next 2 are pretty closely tied, and that was a requirement of 1 semester for graduation. Right now, as Rhonda said, it's only required to be offered as an elective, but not as a graduation requirement, though many districts in Idaho still keep it as a 1 semester credit for graduation. And then the last one had to do with maybe collecting more data, and what would that data be? And so the next slide then is another question that we ask. We ask you, what kinds of data do you collect? And most of you use the Presidential Fitness Test. And then some other form of assessment was the next higher ranking. And FitnessGram was the lowest data collection system that people in Idaho use. But Presidential Fitness is still the largest. And then we asked if funding were available and you could be a pilot school to collect more data, would you be willing to participate? And many of you said yes, and a lot of you said, I need more information before I'd commit to something like that. But many of you said yes, if there were some funding available, we'd be willing to work with the state and all of our partners. Do you have any more, Rhonda?
This is without funding.
Okay. And then without funding, still, many of you said yes, you would participate with us and help us out on that. And so if we decide that there is more data, if you all decide that you want to have more data collected, we would work together to determine what that would be, what kind of assessment we would use, and we would work with you on it. Because it's highly likely that there won't be a lot of extra funds for that, but however we can partner with you. I'm thinking that maybe at this time, before we go any farther, we just want to see if you have any questions about any of the handouts. Maybe we'll take a short break. We'll introduce Deb Bradburn from CUNA. And the reason we asked Deb to come today was that Deb has collected significant amounts of PE, physical education data. But that data, what has been collected, has really transformed a lot of different things within their high school and their school district. And it was really interesting to hear you say that at the last forum, Deb, and I wanted to know more. And so before we determine what direction to go, I wanted to hear what kinds of assessment data really changed the climate of the school, and actually they become change agents in their school district, driving a lot of other things that are going on. So I thought that that would be helpful to hear. Before we go any farther, do we have questions from any of the sites? How about Madison? Any questions, Jennifer?
They're like 12:40 today. Also, squad night is Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Okay. Very good. Highland High School, we'll go to you. Highland, any questions that you might have from any of the data that's been presented?
We're good.
All right. Heather in Lewiston.
We're good.
Okay. At Declo? Lisa?
We're fine.
Thank you. Kevin in Coeur d'Alene. Kevin Roach.
We're good.
And McCall Donnelly, we don't see you, but do you have any questions? Tina, would you go? They're working. Okay.
Hi, this is Mike. Real quick, McCall Donnelly was unable to join. I guess they double booked their room. I haven't heard of anyone there who's looking for the event. I've got another room scheduled, so if anyone calls and wants to be involved, I've got another room right next door they can use.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Okay, so with that, let's take a break and maybe come back together at 5 to 10. Okay, so about a 10-minute break. Right.
She said that they were calling in on a phone, on a conference call.
Because I even did a contract agreement.
So anyway, we don't know what happened.
But you know what? I don't think anybody signed up there.
Only Kate.
You guys said that sub reimbursement.
We'll hand those out when we're done.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I was just wanted to make sure. Thank you, guys.
You know what? We're gonna email copies, or we could give copies to this group if that's easier.
What's that? Copies
Whatever
of
you want to do.
The reimbursement form.
Yeah, but not till it's done. What time is it?
I'll make one. I'll make it.
And then, yeah, we'll do it now. We'll probably only need Oh, if you need a restroom, are you looking for the restroom? Okay, you go to the front by the elevators, go left, and then take a right. It's on this side of the building. For the women, the men was on the other side. Oh, I'm so bummed. Well, I couldn't. I don't know. I must have saved it, and then I saved it to the jump drive, and I went to look, but I thought I had it. It's all right. Oh, totally. This bums me out. See, that looks like it's cut off. Oh well. That's why we only printed 40 of them. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I think that
And you know what happened? Did Lisa get the one that had
probably the first one we had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She got one of the ones that was two-side, or
it was our print copies for downstairs.
I was like, she's like pointing at it like crap.
That was what happened. So he must have mixed it in there because I didn't. I saw the one, you know, like this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
he did not pull it out separate for us, so that's why I got mixed up.
I just can't believe I missed that. I was like, I didn't really know what I was supposed to do. It's just first and second, so I was like, okay.
It worked out fine.
It's totally fine.
I wonder if she wants this. They were two chairs. They were going up I-9 and we're out of the principals don't not be like, I guess my boss likes to be I'm in ours. Wherever you, if you want to just kind of stand right here, that would be great. And out to the front and to the left.
always said let them run, and that game's closer.
Okay, welcome back. At this time, we are going to start with our presentation from Deb Bradburn from CUNA. And if you would mute your mics if you haven't already. And Deb, welcome to the State Department of Education.
Thanks, Pat.
And I'll, if you want to say a few words, and then I'll go to your PowerPoint.
Well, good morning, everybody, and this is just a huge privilege to be here and be able to kind of share our story and the success that we've had to implement data into our district and to offer collaboration and professional development to our teachers, and most of all, to see the change in our students, K-12. And so I hope today can be really interactive. I've prepared a PowerPoint, and I hope that any questions that you have along the way, please feel free to ask. This journey started about 5 years ago, and we as just a group of PE teachers, K-12, we came together to kind of analyze our PE, especially our curriculum. And there's a tool called the PCAT, which is an analysis tool, and we thought what better start than to look at what we have and analyze it. And to our dismay, we found that we didn't have anything to analyze. We didn't have a curriculum in place. We had a few benchmarks that were maybe written up by teachers back in 1996. Many of us had been new hires since then, and we had a whole different vision of what we thought PE was than what was actually going on in our schools. So with that, that's how this whole process took place. And we had even no vision of writing a grant. We just had a group of people that wanted to come together and improve our PE curriculum. And so that's how it all started. So I just prepared just kind of our process. Pat and Rhonda wanted me to speak more toward the data collection piece of this. And so I have all of those results in the PowerPoint. But there was a lot of meeting and collaborating professional development that lended itself to getting to this point that I thought I'd add. So if we can go to the next one. The first thing that we did is we decided we need to have a vision. We need to have a mission for our PE department, something that's going to fuel us. We need a direction. Because as you know, you could have a department sitting together and you could have 10 different directions. So we needed to pinpoint the direction. And this is what we came up, like I said, that leadership team, and it represented K-12 PE. Not every teacher in our district, but I would say quite a few teachers. And our mission was to equip students with the knowledge, attitude, and skills necessary to pursue a healthy, active lifestyle and become informed, responsible contributors to society. That's what our pinpoint mission was. We saw that there was a huge lack in activity in our community, in our schools, and in the health of our students, and we wanted to change that. So this was our process. We put together a leadership team. We just had a meeting. Anybody that was, would be interested in looking at our curriculum and making some changes, let's meet. And so that's what I call our leadership team. We met. We put together our mission statement, which you just saw. Then we decided to maybe dive a little bit deeper. I alluded to the PCAT tool. I don't know if you have that resource. It's also available, I think, through the CDC. There's also a HECAT to evaluate your health curriculum. But it really goes thoroughly into what you have established already within your school district. And we realized, obviously, that there were so many gaps that we really had to start at the very beginning. So once we decided that we needed additional help, and this PEP grant might be the help that we need to really get off the ground, we then went to the CDC and the coordinated school health model, and we did a school health inventory so we could look at what's going on in our nutrition, what's going on in counseling, and what's going on to support our mission to improve PE. We knew we needed more help than just the PE department. And so that's why we did the school health inventory. And those two those two pieces really helped launch us. Our plan, we didn't want it to be huge. We wanted to really focus it into a fitness-based curriculum. We know that's what we wanted to do right there. Our school district was a sports-based model exclusively. Very little fitness at all in that sports-based fitness model or sports-based model. We know that we wanted more intentional instruction, and we wanted assessment, and through that assessment we wanted to be able to collect data, and we wanted to see what we were doing K-12 and align that. And then hopefully down the road, and that's where we are, this is our 5th year in this process, analyze that data and drive curricular decisions now that we're currently making. So that's kind of the process that we used to try to put all of this together. And if you have questions now about that process or later, I can certainly give you more information, but we can go to the next. So here's basically how we started out. We did get the PEP grant, 3-year grant. This is our 4th year, so we're in sustainability mode. Really 3 succinct goals: fitness-based curriculum, district-wide collaboration, and then functional fitness equipment that we would be able to then test and then construct the curriculum, our lessons, and have that functional equipment necessary so that we could be able to do that. So as we established this, our first part of the process was, what are we going to test? So that would be the next. So we decided we needed to come together, and we met on 2 professional development days, just on what are we going to measure, why are we going to measure it, and how are we going to measure it. And so we agreed upon which fitness tests to measure, and that's the next slide. I'll show you that. And then what we thought was really important was how are each of these tests going to be measured, and what are the protocols? And that was really important so that we had valid data that we were taught, and our protocols for each of these measurements were to the nth degree. And so I think that was what was most profitable in this very first professional development, is which tests and what are those protocols going to be. Then we administered these tests, and they were a little bit different at the elementary level than at the secondary level, just because of the time. The time that PE meets at the elementary school is vastly different than at the secondary level. So they asked for some parental help, some extra aids to help so that we could get all of our kids K-12 tested. Once we had all of our testing in and completed, then we were able, through our grant, to enter it into what we call a WellPro database, so that we could keep all of our data there. And then after year 1, we looked at our data and analyzed it. What changes do we need to make? At the end of year 2, same thing, and at the end of year 3. And I'm going to share those results with you right now. So our fitness measurements that we decided, we were going to do height and weight to measure the component of body composition through BMI. For cardiorespiratory endurance, we decided to do the PACER because the elementary school gyms are maybe not as big as our high school and middle school gyms. Our K6 administered the 15-meter PACER, and our 7 through 12 administered our 20-meter PACER. And if you're not familiar with the PACER, because I've done the mile, and I know all of you have done probably a lot of different cardiorespiratory assessments. We chose the PACER because you could do it inside. There wouldn't be a lot of interruptions in testing, whereas the mile, it's very difficult because we wanted to measure regularly, and so that's why we chose the PACER. Flexibility, sit and reach, we measured it to the inch. Muscular endurance, curl-ups, and that was for 60 seconds. And then for muscular strength, it was the natural rhythm, so there's no pauses in there. But we went a step further in our protocol on this one. Through Bigger, Faster, Stronger, they have a little device called a safety squat, and a lot of weight programs use that safety squat so that they know when they get depth in a push-up or a back squat. Well, we decided to purchase those safety squats and place them right here on the arm when we test for push-ups, because it can be very subjective, as you know. And if you wear them between the elbow and the shoulder, and you go ahead and test your students, every time there's that 90-degree angle, there's that beep. And so what was fabulous about that is the students then, they're like listening for their technique and their push-up really became a lot better, and they realized it wasn't just the teacher telling them that they were down, that they knew it. And so that was a protocol step that if you can afford to get, they're about $50 each. If you can afford just to get one for each school, it makes a huge difference. So those were our testing measurements. And the standards that we used for the next slide were through our Focus Fitness curriculum. Okay, these are the minimum standards that we used. And you can see the age above. I didn't put the lower ages in there just so I wouldn't have to use another slide. But it gives you a great idea across the 8 through 16 age range of where we're at there with just minimum standards. And revisiting these with my department in our last collaboration meeting, it's just amazing how these minimum standards are so minimum now compared to where we're at. And we've looked at changing what our minimum standards are now for our district. But this is where we started, and it was a really good start for us. So here's some of our results as we go to the next slide. One of our PEP grant objectives was to increase elementary physical fitness scores. You can see from year 1, pre-test, I've got all 3 years there for you on curl-ups, the pacer, the push-ups, and the sit and reach. And I can see that the pacer should say 15 meters, so I apologize for that. But you can see the results. Now, we're not as excited about these results, and we were wondering why aren't these results matching the next slide, which you'll see our secondary. Our secondary numbers are vastly different than our elementary numbers. And it comes right down to the same problem that you have in your schools, is that there's not enough time with your elementary classes to really see fitness results. Now we have that in our high school and our middle school, and you'll see that the results are vastly different. Now there's improvement, but not quite the improvement that we'd hoped for. And so based on this, we started an after-school program so that we could take those kids that wanted to have more time in PE after school and see if those fitness scores would improve. And we did some pilot programs with that, and we're still working on that with our Boys and Girls Club to see if we can continue to, outside of our PE classes, because we're not seeing those results. But there's some improvement. We just were hoping for more. As we go to the next slide, it shows you our secondary.
I jumped ahead of you. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. Our secondary right here, you can see, at first our principals were not on board with BMI. So you don't see BMI in our last slide. They didn't feel like at the elementary level we wanted to do height and weight. So it took some convincing for our principals to allow us. And you can see in the second year we added BMI to our secondary students. Not a huge increase. In fact, it remained pretty stable throughout those 3 years. But you can see that there has been quite an increase in several of our fitness measures, and we realize that we need to pick it up as PE teachers in emphasizing specific characteristics of health-related fitness. Our like cardiovascular. That's one that we really tried to be innovative in our classes. How do we help them be more cardiovascularly fit every day in our classes through many different skills and activities. And so we've been really working on that. So those were some physical fitness results for you to see. And then other parts of our grant that really helped us maybe create a model for our school, if you want to go to the next one, is to increase the knowledge, our content. What are our students going to leave with? We want them to be lifelong learners and ability to be active throughout their life. So we had 2 assessments that we also, and this is a combined results, but we did our 5 for Life assessment, which was on our fitness components. It was short answer, true, false, multiple choice, that they did a pre-test and a post-test, and our goal was 70% or higher. And you can see the results of that for both our 5 for Life. But we also wanted to add nutrition, especially the macronutrients, and that nutrition and activity go hand in hand. They're both equally parts of being healthy and being active. And so that was an important part of our cognitive piece of our grant process. And we continue to assess in this way, but we have added more assessments now and are creating a common assessment for our end of the year courses for our PE classes. Another affective domain, very difficult to test, was to improve the attitude that students have about physical education and active lifestyles. It's great to be able to give them this curriculum, but are they really enjoying it? What is their attitude? Because that was our vision, is to create a different attitude, to create a different culture in our school district. And so we did a pre-post survey, and I just put a few sample questions on there for you. There were many, and the responses were 1 poor, 2 fair, 3 average, 4 good, 5 excellent. But you can see the mean, and throughout, and this was these were on a Likert scale, but that was probably the greatest thing to be able to see at the end of these 3 years. Is we saw it visually, but then to see it in a survey that they filled out. And I know you kind of have to look at surveys with rose-colored glasses, because again, they may want to tell you what you want to hear, but we really felt like this was a good piece for us to know we were going in the right direction. The next one was activity logs and accelerometers. I don't have accelerometers on there, but one of the PEP grant goals was, are our students more active outside of PE class due to the curriculum that we're giving them? And so this was just one example of an activity log that we developed with the help of Focus Fitness. They went and recorded how much activity and at what intensity level, and that's intensity levels are part of our curriculum, 2 weekend days and 1 weekday. And they recorded 4 different time periods throughout a year. And it was overwhelming that they are getting more activity outside of class throughout the 3 years. And we put the accelerometer in there with a pilot group of kids, so that actually what they were were reporting was actual true. So if they said that they were active at a heart healthy activity for an hour on a Saturday, that accelerometer that they wore actually validated what they were saying that they did on those activity logs. Not every student obviously was equipped with an accelerometer, but we did a pilot group, and we were happy that they understood the intensity levels that we were teaching, and that they were able to equate that with the intensity level they were actually active out of school with. So that was our elementary. This was our secondary. We did a lot more accelerometer work at the secondary level, but as you can see, from 60% to 30%. Our high school students just aren't as active as our elementary students are outside of school. It was really interesting to see, as we didn't see the fitness scores actually change as much we'd hoped in the elementary level. Here, we didn't see our out of class activity as high as we would have liked in our high school students. There's a gap there, as we all know. There's a gap in how do we sustain that activity, that enjoyment and that want, that intrinsic motivation for them to want to be active when they're not in PE class. And I know they're doing 100 zillion things as secondary students. So not only did we want to know how our students were feeling about the curriculum, but what about our teachers? Because that's a big part of what drives our curriculum. And this objective was to impact teacher knowledge, skills, and attitudes through high-quality teacher workshops, training, and support. And again, this was just a very small sample questions of some of our teachers. And we're continuing on this journey primarily because of the collaboration, the professional development, and the support of our administration. So that was overwhelmingly very, very, very positive. But I thought it was important not only for you to see our students were surveyed, but our teachers were surveyed as well. So what were the connections that we made through this process? And I think Pat said it really beautifully a few minutes ago, is we created a model at our school that everyone took notice of. Not that we were creating it for everyone else to see, that wasn't the mission at all, but through this process, teachers became more professional. We were able to collect a lot of data to share. The first one I put up there, administrative perceptions of PE changed immensely. They walk into a PE class, they know exactly what to look for now. Our 3 pillars of what we teach to, they're looking for instant activities. They're looking for a lot of participation. A lot of our classes wear pedometers. They have goals every day as for how many steps that they're going to get in those activities. So there's a lot of intentional instruction, which was one of our previous goals. We've created curriculum templates. We have curriculum maps, curriculum guides, and assessment maps that we've created templates that we're using that now our history department, they just were granted they're in their second year of a U.S. history grant. Now we're collaborating with them on how to share these templates and use them, and using essential questions and functional knowledge and vocabulary and stuff like that. So we have other departments asking us to help them, which is really different. We've created a district PE intranet. So I put my curriculum map for my conditioning class on the intranet, and then the middle school just created their middle school conditioning class, so they can look at what my curriculum map is, and we can now align the curriculum K-12. And we've really started to do that now, and it's been really advantageous to see, we're not doing this in 6th grade, but we're doing it in 7th grade. Or we're doing it in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We can cut this out or minimize how much emphasis we're placing on this content so that we really feel like they're getting the curricular experience, and there's not as many gaps as there used to be. Right now we're in our second lesson study between, this time it's between middle school and high school, but it's really awesome to connect teachers together, and you reciprocate going and watching them teach, and then they can come and watch you teach. It's not evaluation on the teacher's teaching ability, it's the lesson. Is this a great lesson? What are we missing on this lesson? And then can we put it on the intranet as a lesson to teach maybe our intensity levels? We don't all have to teach it the same way, but what is a good lesson in PE, and studying the lesson? And it's been invaluable to us because it requires collaboration, great minds. It's been a great process. There's been a lot of integration. A lot of teachers now are bringing PE into their classroom. They're taking activity breaks or They're wanting to use our heart monitors so that they can do mode, mean, medium, math type stuff. And I use that as in pre-algebra. There's a lot of interconnections there. And then now our community wants to get involved, and so I put our after-school program. Now our Boys and Girls Club out at CUNA wants to take our curriculum and continue it after school for our elementary kids. So there's been quite a few connections. These are just a few of them that have really been exciting and where we're at. The last slide for you. Oh, I have 2 more slides, but anyway, this is what I call our leadership model. Now that our grant is done, what did we do this year is we kind of we took those PE leaders and we went in 4 different directions. We have a leader over curriculum that keeps the curriculum part going. We have a leader in data collection and analysis, trying to get our own database developed and how we're going to analyze data. We've got a leader doing professional development with our district. Now we're going into assessment. How do we assess better? What do we assess? And then our after-school program. So that's how we've taken our original leadership that started on this journey and to keep it going. And then for further sustainability, which is my last slide here, is we feel like we need to have leadership at all levels to keep what we've done going. The articulation of a vision that connects academic achievement with student health and wellness, quality curriculum and lesson design, assessment of student learning outcomes, continued professional development, and then obviously why we're all here today is that advocacy of we want healthier kids, and hopefully we can also have it required in the state of Idaho. So hopefully I didn't rush through that too quickly, but give you a snapshot of our experience, which has been just such a great experience. Questions?
I'm curious about the fitness scores and I don't know if you do pass-fail or if you do letter grades, but I'm curious if the fitness score, student performance on fitness tests, if it equates to their grades or is tied to their grade. Great question. We've been debating that, and obviously when we were here last time, that was part of what U of I presented on, that fitness scores should not be, I mean, it can be graded, but it shouldn't be a part of, their overall assessment. So what we have done is we started out with participation. You need a fitness test, and it started out as a participation grade. We felt that was really fair, and that was a good way to start. Now, however, we're just finding that we've kind of created some rubrics on improvement, and that we want students to take their own scores, and then we do a SMART goal setting strategy. They set their goals, and then how can they meet what their goal is. So they know they're going to be tested pre and post test.
Absolutely, every semester. And so some teachers have it equate a little bit more to their overall grade. Some are just participation, and right now we're in that discussion. What is the best practice? How do we make this more meaningful? And so we're discussing that as we speak. We don't have maybe the best answer for you on that.
I don't mind if this is the beginning, but did you say what your requirements were? Would you repeat the
question? Yes, the question was, what are our requirements? They need to take a whole year of PE. And so we have a required freshman Fit for Life class that's a semester. Every student takes that in our district. And then their second credit, they can take anything. We have team sports, lifetime sports, weights, conditioning, functional fitness. We have a variety of fitness classes and PE classes that they can take.
What about middle school?
Middle school, they are required to they have to take a year at 7th grade and a year at 8th grade. And that's combination PE health.
You mentioned that you made a major curriculum shift in the secondary from kind of the sports model to the fitness model. Did you make a curriculum change at the elementary level too to help meet some of those fitness goals?
Excellent question. Question was, we made a curriculum change from a sports ed model to a fitness model at the high school? Did we also do that at the elementary level? And yes, we did. There was more fitness within our elementary curriculum because we had some really strong teachers in our elementary program. So what we needed to do that is just tweak it. And I think the greatest thing that we did is trying to figure out not to take away the sports emphasis, but to add in the fitness and make it all seamless. And I think those are the biggest strides we made. Yes?
Who analyzed your data?
We had it analyzed two ways. We had a quantitative person come in, and then we also had it analyzed, well, through our through the government in all the reports. But we also had a qualitative guy come in every single year, and I mean, he was meticulous about asking teachers what's going on, asking even community members, principals. He sat in with focus groups to really compile, and I did bring that report, but I think that's even more eye-opening is that report than just the numbers. So through Focused Fitness, which was where we purchased our curriculum, and they provided most of our professional development, they also were the means at which they compiled all of our data for us.
How did you determine Focused Fitness? Are there a menu of choices?
There are a menu of choices. We decided we wanted to go with Focused Fitness because we had a great interaction with one of their members just through the PCAT. We went through the PCAT conference to look at our initial curriculum and realized, wow, we needed a lot of help, and just got a lot of information and felt like we did some research with Focused Fitness. They're out of Washington State, and that seemed to be the best fitness model we felt that would fit our school. So that's why we went with Focused Fitness. Any other questions?
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to compliment you and your staff for taking on this PEP grant. It's a huge endeavor, but we're excited as a state to know that there is a school district in our state that's actually received a PEP grant. So we would love to pick your ear, and I, for one, in the Madison School District would like to see ourselves go through the process you've gone through. Would you be interested, or your school district be interested in doing during the state conference, or during our state conference, have a training program developed so that or put this online so that we can start looking at how we ourselves can go through this process?
Yeah, absolutely. We would love in any way, shape, or form be able to just provide any additional information about our experience, because it was so powerful. And I know we were sitting where many of you are several years ago wondering, wow, how do we start this process? It seems overwhelming, and I've never written a grant before, and actually it all came together very, very well. And yeah, I think that's a wonderful idea to make maybe this information, or at least the process, the steps, maybe outlining those for teachers and districts that would like to maybe look into the PEP grant. Definitely.
Thank you.
You bet.
Deb, do you want the Valley View and Caldwell also have PEP grants?
Okay, you bet. And then in addition, Valley View School District here and Caldwell School District here in the Valley both have received PEP grants. I think one's in their first year and one's in their second year right now. And so what we would like to do is join forces with them so that we can all use our experiences to help other school districts be where we're at and where they're currently at as well. So I think if we join forces, that might be the next step of this as well.
And I would just say that of those 3 schools that did receive PEP grants, all of you did the PE CAT. So they all did a curriculum analysis. So you could identify where your needs were at and clearly state that to the U.S. Department of Education. And so interestingly, you all participated in that training, and 3 of the 5 or 6 districts that were there got PEP grant. I think you were the first, and then the other 2 followed later. So it was great. I think you also have to have a team of people in order to get a PEP grant. You have to have some sort of team like you put together.
Yep. Yeah, there were a lot of steps that we already kind of had going. So I think that helped generate, that opportunity. So, any other questions at this time? I just thank you so much for the opportunity to share this experience with you, and any way I can be of help, I certainly will be there for you.
I think at this time we'll ask Dr. Johnson, Tyler Johnson, to come forward, and Tyler's going to guide us through some discussion about everything we've heard today. And Tyler, just if you feel that the group needs a break at some point, you have the show.
Okay. So I got an email last night. Thank goodness for iPhones, because I don't check my email at night, but I have an iPhone, so I check my email now. And Adrienne Casper, who was supposed to be the one that facilitated this discussion, she's the lobbyist, the tall blonde that was here last time. She had to go to Idaho Falls for another engagement, so she asked me if I would fill in for her, and I said, sure, I guess. So I think what I'd like to do, and if some of you disagree, the table's open, so this is discussion time. Let's all of us talk and share some ideas. But if we really look at can you pull up the slide with the 5 pieces of feedback we got from the survey from last time? There was a thing at the top of the list. Yeah, if you can write, that'd be great. Red. The thing at the top of the list was that we all agreed, this was the thing ranked highest, that we need a highly qualified physical education teachers in every school in Idaho, K through 12. So for me, I think this is a good thing, and many of you, this is what you voted for. I think where we should proceed from here is all of us break out into groups and 15, 20 minutes, I would think, come up with a good list of what we think constitutes a highly qualified PE teacher, and we'll come together and share. And I guess we could put the other things up here too, just so you can see, and maybe that you're seeing certified PE teachers here. Maybe this really isn't the most important thing to us, but it's what the survey said. So if we disagree with this, we need to talk about it now. If not, we really need to explore what is a certified PE teacher. The second thing was having required minutes, at least 150 minutes per week for elementary and 225 minutes per week for secondary, as a requirement in Idaho. So I don't think we need to look at the other ones because I think most of you voted for these. So is this what you'd like to do? Do you like the idea of breaking out into groups and discussing what constitutes a qualified PE teacher? Jane Shimon.
I think one of the things we have to think about is if we're discussing these, if there is required minutes, we have to have a graduation requirement before we can even look at requiring minutes. So I think I just pushing that out to consider with the groups. Would you ask before we can require minutes? We have to have at least.
We have to have a graduation requirement. And interestingly, I thought that one was going to be at the top. I really did, but it's actually 4th on the list. The high school graduation requirement.
The third was.
Oh, it's the 3rd?
It was 2.
Oh, it's at least 1 credit.
No, it was actually they came up with 2 credits.
2 for 4 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess I had the data wrong. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So it's the 3rd one.
We'll
high school.
just put high school graduation requirements. You can have the discussion on what you want that to look like.
1 or 2.
Okay.
Yep.
So Jane, if you missed what she said, hey, let's not worry about a time requirement until we get a high school graduation requirement first. I think that's good
Tyler,
thinking.
can I jump in? It's Trudy at Declo.
Yes, go ahead, Trudy.
Thanks. When I got talking to a bunch of PE teachers in our district and about the survey, I think a lot of people are under the misconception because the districts have those requirements in place that it's not necessarily, like it wasn't high on their priority list as what we're doing, because I don't think they maybe understood that it wasn't in effect at the state level. Does that make sense?
They already require it.
So because districts have it, they didn't think it was really that important because, hey, we already have a graduation requirement in our district.
Right.
But for us to, as a state to say that we value PE, maybe it would be good for us to have a high school graduation requirement statewide mandated.
And I think the required minutes was moreover, this is my perception, because it affects all teachers. Whereas graduation requirements, if you're looking at just what's in your building, only affects high school. So that's probably what that one was second, was a little higher too.
I can't remember your name. I know you're
Lori
from Meridian School District. She says that the required minutes was probably more attractive to more PE teachers because it represents K through 12 teachers, whereas high school is just for the high school graduation requirement is just for high school teachers. Good point. I think we're trying to make some decisions here. Do you want to move forward with this first one, certified PE teachers in Idaho? Is this what we want to take forward and try to promote change? Because if you remember, Adrian said this. What were the two questions she asked us? If you were mayor for a day, what would you change or what would you do? And if you could change one thing in PE in Idaho, what would it be? And so that's what the message she's trying to give us is, let's not take multiple things to the table. Let's have the one thing that we all, maybe not 100% agree with, but we all can come to a consensus on to say, this is what we want to take to the table to really try to promote change.
Highland has a question.
Highland?
Hi, Shawnee Thompson from Soda Springs. One comment I have and a concern I have is on certified PE teachers. Right now in the state of Idaho, I think about every district is having teachers cut. And in order to put in a certified PE person, we're going to be pinning districts up against the wall. And I'm just talking money because money is what drives a lot of it. Okay, so I'm kind of playing devil's advocate there. Secondly, just like Deb was saying that their research found, our high school kids do not naturally go out and play afterwards. The only time that they're going to get it is if we schedule that in their day where they have to be in school. That's when they're going to get that PE activity. So I think, if we're saying, hey, we've got to cover all grades K through 12, it's a diversity because it's different at the elementary than it is from the high school. And if we look at where our needs are, we've got to have a graduation requirement at the high school. So I'm just putting my plug in that I think we have to have that requirement, at least a 1 to 2 credit requirement at the high school in order to move forward. And it's not minutes. It's got to be a credit.
I didn't catch your first name, but Shawnee's saying that the high school graduation requirement should be our primary focus. So the table's open for anyone else to want to share. Middleton High School.
My opinion on it is if you don't have a requirement at the high school level, you don't need to be worrying about certified or non-certified because you won't be having anyone there. I mean, some of these schools are fighting to make it a requirement. And I think that's where we need to be there for them. I mean, just like Deb, and I concur with her, is we need to make sure that some of these students, we're their only help. They're not getting it outside of school. So I do agree that I think we need to focus on the high school.
I'm kind of feeling a little bit that we're not all 100% committed to the certified PE teacher or qualified PE teacher proposition. So anyone else want to make a comment? I think, was that you and Madison?
Heather, I have a question. Yeah. So I agree. We need certified PE teachers. We need the high school graduation requirement. Concern I have right now is we get a high school graduation requirement, but right now we don't have to have a certified teacher teach those students. And so we right now at our middle school and elementary schools, we have aides that are going to be teaching our students, and they're not going to give us extra teachers to teach those classes. And so the concern we have here is as those teachers retire, they're going to fill those classes with non-certified teachers.
Okay, good point. Great.
My name's Greg Sumption. I'm just a student, so, but this is just the way, from what I've heard, the graduation requirement and a certified teacher, why can't you combine both of those and say a high school graduation requirement or an elementary requirement taught by a certified teacher? because that's what I'm hearing from all of these points is we need to have a high school graduation requirement, but have it taught by someone who's certified, because you don't go into chemistry class and learn chemistry from somebody who certified in literature.
Do you want me to answer the requirements?
Yeah.
On that?
Rhonda?
Okay, I just want to share with you all the requirements from the state for teaching these classes at the high school level. 9 through 12, a certified teacher that has a PE endorsement must teach that class. So at the high school level, the teacher has to have a PE endorsement. K through 8, and in our state, grades 1 through 8, the teacher may have taken a methods class in PE and health under the elementary certification procedure, and because of that class, they may be qualified to teach physical education, grades 1 through 8. Most of the middle junior high schools do pick up somebody with a PE certification, but it is not required by the state. If you have taken elementary PE and health methods, you are certified to teach PE in our state.
But that's only
So,
a semester.
pardon?
That's just a semester class? Then?
It is a semester 1 credit class. We have
1 credit.
Okay. So.
But in districts, they're having paraprofessionals teach at the elementary
We
level.
discussed this last time, and I do want to make this very clear. There are some districts that are using paraprofessionals and teacher aides to teach PE. What is happening there is because there's kind of a loophole there where if you're in the direct sight of a certified teacher, so if I'm an elementary certified teacher and Heather is my aide, Heather can go and teach my PE class. I am supposed to directly supervise Heather as she teaches that class. And from what we heard last time, we know that is not occurring. But it is one way that school districts are dealing with the funding issues in their districts. So teacher certification at the State Department is well aware of that. They work with situations where they can encourage the superintendent to make the change, but it is not specified in Idaho law that they can't do that because they can be directly supervised. So.
Rhonda, thank you. That helped clear up a lot of this. So what I'm kind of seeing is certified PE teachers, K through 12. It really is K through 8, isn't it? Is it not? Because you already have to be certified to teach high school PE.
Let's change that.
So this first one is kind of catered more towards elementary, middle school teachers, whereas the high school requirement that some of you have advocated for pertains more to high school teachers. So it sounds like we have a little difference between who teaches what and what we want to see happen. I think if Adrienne were here, I'm trying to pretend like I'm Adrienne. I know I don't think exactly like she does, and she has much more experience with advocacy than I do. But I think she would say, okay, what do you want to have happen in the next 2 to 3 years? And then have a long-term perspective about other things that you want to have happen. But again, in the next 2 to 3 years, what is the most important thing that we want to see changed, that we believe will be for the benefit of physical education for students in physical education in Idaho? So, Jane? And then
Adrienne also made a point. She pointed out clearly that we also have to be wise on what we select, that it should, at least the first go around, will be the least intrusive to getting something passed. And so
kind of like a stepping stone for future
a
things.
stepping stone. So what would be the least intrusive to get through to our state board and our legislatures, and then from there, what can we then go on afterwards? And she made that clear as well. And that's something to think about when we're looking at this list.
Yeah, so please don't think this is just one and done thing. We're just going to do one thing and we're going to be done. No, we really want to make this the initial piece of legislative change, and hopefully it continues onward for many years to come. Do we need to break up into groups, talk about this issue, report back in, let's say, 10 to 15 minutes,
and we really come to a consensus?
Yeah, one more question over here.
Ken Bell.
Add one other thing regarding the first issue, certified PE teachers K through 8, that we did make a step forward at the State Department with certification. It used to be that someone with the elementary certification could teach any subject area K through 8, and I'd like to say it was pushed because of the lack of quality in physical education, but it was primarily because someone with an elementary certification was then qualified to teach math or science at the junior high level. So what they did was change the certification starting summer of 2013, that if you have an elementary certification, you are no longer qualified to teach physical education. You have to have an endorsement in physical education to teach it. So we've made a step forward there.
Good. At the middle school.
At the elementary level, K through 8.
So this is what we're saying though is that's been met?
That will
be met.
That will be.
Ken, would you clarify? Are you? The question was: are you saying then in summer of 2013 that if someone's certified to teach elementary school, just be an elementary regular education teacher, that now in summer of 2013 they're going to need a physical education endorsement
They will need
to
a
teach
20
physical
credit
education?
endorsement to teach physical education K through 8.
So they can't be
So is that really off our list then?
Well, it depends on whether we are going to question whether administrators across the state are actually being held accountable to this. Right. It sounds like we have some people in violation of the basic statutes we already have in place. Okay. And we just need to somehow hold them accountable. I don't know whether there's an accountability coming from the State Department down to the districts. That's the question that I have.
Okay. Why don't we take 15 minutes and go to our respective locations? We'll have discussions, come up with the one thing that your group wants to put forward as the plan for legislative change in PE in Idaho. And we'll come together and we'll see if we can come to a consensus on this. 15 minutes?
Okay.
Let's do it. So maybe we can make two groups, one here.
Semester, it's a whole year.
Hey, Barbara Morgan room.
1 year for high school. Junior high, I don't know if it's.
Are you sure it's a year for high school?
All right, due to time, I think we ought to come back together and try to come up with some findings from each of the groups. Ken Bell is currently visiting with an endorsement specialist. Thank goodness we're in the State Department of Ed building here. He's visiting with an endorsement specialist right now, and is going to have some additional information to share about what it means to be, endorsement requirements to teach PE. If I can just say this before any group goes, from what I heard them say, is that in summer of 2013, they're going to start requiring that all elementary education majors are certified to teach a single subject. So in other words, they could opt to do a 20-credit endorsement in PE. Notice opt, though. They're not required to. So it doesn't mean that they have to have that to teach it in K through 8 physical education. They can do that still just with having a general elementary education degree. So really the qualified PE teacher thing still is important if we all believe in that. He'll have some additional details here in just a minute. I know he's finishing his conversation with them. Let's start with Madison first. What was the one thing that you came to an agreement as most important?
Well, we went back to the fact that we need highly qualified teachers, because if we have a graduation requirement, we put in a lot more students into the classroom, but it doesn't mean that we're going to get extra staffing to take care of those students. And so it was our feeling that we need to share and educate our administrators and put more. I'm not sure if there's a way to have the state somehow provide a little bit more teeth to them to know that there needs to be highly qualified teachers that are teaching our students and not aides or substitutes.
Right now we're making an assumption that if someone has an endorsement or is a high school PE teacher, we're making an assumption that they're highly qualified. And is that true? That's a question that we're posing, because I think some of you have already said, hey, we already need someone who's a qualified PE teacher to teach high school PE. Are we saying that just because someone has a major in PE from a university, they're highly qualified? That's a question we're going to have to consider. Okay, I think that's good. That helps us. Let's go next to Highland.
Okay, we have decided that we would like to see 2 credits requirement for a graduation at the high school. And we're not saying it's a year or semester, because there's trimesters, semesters, the whole entire thing, but credit is a certain amount of minutes required by the state that you're in that class. And so
basically
2 credits will cover it all. Yep.
No? But 2 credits would be equal a full year.
Yeah.
Okay, so a full year of PE for a high school graduation requirement. Thank you. Declo.
We're on with Highland. We also feel like Shanae was right in what we kind of heard from last time, was that we can't go huge, and the less invasive, the more support you're going to have. If it's not invasive, could there potentially be a possibility of 4 credits? So that would be 2 years of the high school. I mean, that would be like, oh, wonderful. But if 2 is less invasive, then great.
Okay, thank you. Coeur d'Alene.
Hi, Tyler. We went with 2 full years of high school PE.
That's even coming from an elementary PE teacher. I guess that's the same. Okay.
Well, they said 4.
No, he said 2 full years.
You said 2 full years?
4 credits.
I'm sorry, so 4 credits as well. Thank you. Boise number 1. This is Boise number 1. This will be 2, 3, and 4.
We've decided that basically about the credit requirement is the most important thing, and then I think a planned out kind of ideal would be the way to go. Because the minutes will follow the credit requirement, and then you can do like a grandfather and certifications for teachers to whatever certification level you guys decide, basically.
So grad requirement first. Okay, Boise number 2.
I think, well, depending on the outcome of what we hear from the endorsement thing, I mean, we want the highly qualified teachers. But I think what probably the easiest thing to get passed and the least amount of thinking on the legislator's part would be bringing back the high school graduation requirement. Whether that be a full year or 2 years, whatever. But
Okay, thank you. Number 3.
I think we're pretty consistent with what people have shared. One thing that I think would be beneficial to understand is how many high schools already mandate 2 semesters. Just my mind for what it's worth, I would guess percentage-wise, what is the percentage of high schools that don't require?
That's a really good question. I have no clue either.
I think it would be small.
I think all the biggest things.
Yeah.
Meridian School District has a high school PE graduation requirement. 2 credits. So Boise does as well. CUNA does.
Middleton does. I mean, I think it's already.
See, but that would be huge to understand our challenge to get it approved. If 5% of the school districts don't offer 2-semester requirement, then it would be easy to be able to say the rest of the state, this is a mandate, we're looking at this small percentage of school districts.
It would be starting small, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And it would be an easier sell if the majority are already doing that to bring it forward.
And I know that the same issues that the Boise School District looked at when they eliminated the requirement, the justification for staying there, all schools must have similar, issues that they went through and said, here's why we're making a stand that we still have to have credit graduated Boise School District to be able to get the graduation requirements. So
these are some really good points. Someone came on from another location. Do you want to speak up? Highland?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that School District 25 here at Pocatello, we do not have a PE requirement to graduate.
You like the idea of one then?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. These were good points. Group number 4.
We said the same thing, the 2 credits, but we also talked quite a bit about what those requirements look like and how there's so many different things right now that could be that requirement. And so maybe in this transition, what we need to do is, since a lot of schools already offer it, make that transition from it has to look like this. This is what the requirement looks like instead of just the requirement.
Okay, can you give it, I hope all of you could hear in other locations, but they're basically saying if we're going to put forward a graduation requirement, we should specify what should be part of that graduation requirement. Would you mind sharing some of your ideas?
For example, I know that sometimes, like our band class or this dance class in the morning that sings or something else could get a PE credit, and that has been allowed by certain schools. And so what we're saying is, okay, do those requirements follow the standards? And if they don't, then it shouldn't be a requirement. And so then you go back to your standards and say, is this being fulfilled?
Can you check with the other groups to see if they could hear that?
Did you all hear that in other locations? Thumbs up if you did. Some did, some didn't.
Just kind of restate that, maybe that's a good point.
So her point was that if we're going to require high school graduation for PE, we got to specify that a student can't use an early morning dance class or a marching band class as satisfying that requirement. They could, you're saying, if those classes specifically document that they're meeting our standards, our state PE standards.
Right. Which comes back to the assessment piece. We talked about the assessment piece, comes back to all of those things. Your curriculum, it all kind of goes hand in hand.
We have a long way to go, don't we?
Yeah. But it starts there. If you have a requirement, then how can you make that requirement look?
Well, I think this is pretty clear about what it is that we all want. So from this point, I know we have another meeting scheduled for May 8th. Is that correct?
Yes. May 8th and September 12th, actually.
I think what we could do then is, I know we've scheduled till 11:30 today, is take the last 15 minutes and groups start to come together with some ideas on how we want to, what we want this to specifically look like for high school graduation requirement. And on the 8th, we make a final decision, and we get Adrienne back here, of course, with her expertise to help us now start preparing this platform to take to the state legislature.
State board first.
It goes
The state board first, then the legislature. So, Ken Bell, I think you have some information to share with us before we proceed.
Well, I have in my hot hand here.
Come on up here.
Come on up.
I just talking with the certification folks, I understand why university's interpretation is that someone need to be have an endorsement in physical education because it had been removed from the certification manual. That a requirement was needed. There was a lot of pushback from school districts saying that was unacceptable. It was removed, and they're saying now that it really should be in there, and that's why universities interpreted that someone needed an endorsement. I will be meeting with the director to discuss this issue because I don't think it should just be randomly put back in because we had pushback from administration, school district administration across the state. Part of the problem for us is that with Nickleby, all other subject areas except physical education were included. So even art and music are included in No Child Left Behind, and physical education was left off. So before we all start jumping up and down and telling administrators what should happen, I will be meeting with the director of certification and seeing if we can get clarification on this because they are saying that they will be adding back in that an elementary person can teach physical education, but the intent was to make sure that they were highly qualified and certified. So,
Ken, could we have you do that in preparation for the May 8th forum?
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks. Great, thank you.
Go get them.
So Pat, do you want to give us Pat and Ron, any closing announcements from today? I think this has been good. We've gotten really specific, and it seems like what do we have, like 7-1 that the high school PE requirement for graduation is what people want. And I think maybe what you could talk about in your groups, because we have some 4 credits and we have some 2 credits. We need to decide what we want to take forward, whether it's 2 or 4.
Happy meeting 3.
So perhaps that's something we can think about and come and finalize on at the beginning of our next meeting, and then Adrienne will be back and she can give us some specific details about how we move forward.
Okay, I so appreciate you helping us out, Tyler, because it really was pinch hitting. We got a phone call about 8 o'clock last night, and Adrienne works a lot with Smoke-Free Boise, Smoke-Free Meridian, and she had an opportunity to testify in Idaho Falls. So her boss kind of said, you need to go. And I would just like to give you some housekeeping information so that you can deal with your administrators, and we will tell you how we will follow up. Okay, when you get back, we will send you the PowerPoint we shared today. You should have received in your email these fact sheets, and you can take these back. I will also put a link to the PE message if you've never received that from us. It is on our website. It is on the IFERD website. You also will receive the link on there for data and resources, so you can use the YRBS, the school health profiles, this BMI study. We also have the results of a PE teacher's questionnaire that was sent out in 2009. So that is on our website. Also, for substitute reimbursement for the teachers in the districts, we will send, or do we have them printed? Okay, Tina will give you a substitute reimbursement form. You need to sign it. It is a half day, and you need to have someone at your district office sign off and fax it. Tina's name is on the substitute reimbursement, so it will come to her. We sign off on it, and it will be paid back to your district. Okay, the rate is $35 for a half day. Okay, so that is the bookkeeping on our end.
One of the things that we did in preparation for the next meeting is May 8th, because we know that many of you will be involved in track meets as we get closer to the end of the year. So May 8th and September 12th, we thought if we had our last forum before IFERD, we would have an opportunity then to maybe have this presented at the IFERD in a more final form. And we may not be ready yet, but at least we'll be farther down the line. We will have had 4 IEN forums of PE teachers, and hopefully you can continue to promote that to your colleagues in other school districts. So we'll put this out on the back table, and as a marketing effort, we put on here on the postcard that only 54% of Idaho high school students attend, or 54% of Idaho students do not attend physical education on 1 or more days a week. And so this is a way to also promote what really is actually happening. When we ask parents across the country, and they say 81% of them perceive that PE is important, and they think it's going on. In actuality, it is not. So here's a postcard to save the dates, and we thank you again for your time. And Deb has also, from CUNA, agreed to let us send you her PowerPoint as well. Thank you again. Great day.
Lewiston, they had a power outage.
Lewiston had a power outage? Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah. Talk more over lunch. I'm being serious. I'm not buying it. Hey, I would dare bet many of you in the public schools make more money than I do at the university. Be my guest.
Okay, Coeur d'Alene, if you can hear me, Lewiston's experiencing a power outage, so I will get back to you as soon as I can about the IEN Fuel Up to Play. I don't know what's happening, so I will go check on that.
I have her
Hang
phone
on,
number.
Kevin, and I will be right back to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's fine. To my jump drive.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I'm a student.
The good thing is it's only, oh, I do have. It's only on Thursday, so is it even going in, yep, and voice, yes. Oh, nice to meet you.
Email, yeah. The 8th is a busy week. That meeting, the board meeting, and then Race for the Cures on Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's hard to find anything, but then you go to district.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So May is really
I think May 8th, I'm just going to take the whole day off.
That's a good question.
Well, so there were 4 of them from Valley View.
How quickly we can get small pieces.
They did, and I think we just have to.
I have a little desire to go.
Yeah.
Come back and tell me. That's a great question to ask, because I think that's a really good one.
I don't know. Okay, something happened. And then they were just, you know, and